Hey, Quillan, to your right.
G'day.
Congratulations. When you're in that first round, and I think you landed a good shot early, and right back he comes and he cracks you, and it seemed to happen like a couple times in a row. You're going through your mind, okay, this is a little different than I thought before. Like it seemed like you guys were so evenly matched, and it was such a really good back and forth.
Yeah, he hit me with some, good shots, and this is the first time I've actually been, hit like that in an MMA fight. Like usually I get through pretty, unscathed. So it was actually a really great test for me, and I actually quite enjoyed getting into a bit of a slugfest, a bit of a back and forth action. It was actually quite fun.
Mentally, like, do you have to raise your game in the middle of the fight? Like, because I know you're confident walking in there, but then when you see what's coming back at you and you know, hey, this guy is a really good fighter, he's not just a scrub, do you have to kind of mentally raise your game as the fight's going on?
Yeah, I try to, when I'm in there, trying to look for, certain things and certain openings. I was in there, I felt a little bit too tense. Like I didn't feel quite myself in there. I did have to rely a lot on, a bit of grit and tenacity to get through and get my hand raised, which, I prefer not to. I'd rather just go in there and put on a really slick performance and get the guy out of there quick and easy. But, it is what it is in a sense.
When you look at the roster, obviously lightweight has historically been one of the great divisions. How do you see yourself growing into that division? Like, do you feel like you have big growth potential that, you can make a title run? How do you see yourself fitting in there?
Oh, yeah, I definitely see myself, making a title run in the near future. Just need a few warm-up, fights to really get things going, and then I know I'm right up there with the best of them in terms of skill. Just getting comfortable in the UFC octagon is the main thing to do at the moment.
When you say that, you're the top man on the regional scene. You're the big fish. Dana called somebody else a big fish in a small pond. Now you start at the bottom. You're the small fish in the big pond. How does that change the way you approach anything, if at all?
Doesn't change a thing, I don't think. I just go in there and, just another fight. It's always just another fight, another opponent to get through and get my hand raised at the end of the day.
And last thing for me, just how soon do you want to come back? I mean, I know you got scratched up a little bit tonight, but when do you think you'll be able to make your debut?
Late November or early December would be ideal for me. I definitely want to get at least one more before the end of the year. That was only my second fight of the year, and I ideally want to make 3 fights per year as a minimum.
When you think of that, when you think of your UFC debut, how do you picture that? Like, you've talked about a date, but what about a location or an opponent? Have you thought about that, and have you given yourself a chance to think about your official UFC debut?
In terms of location for like a debut, I don't really care, but I do know my dream, location to fight will be, in New York. That's there's a card coming up, so. If I could open up the card on that would be, a dream first fight.
What about just the fact that now you're a UFC fighter? Has that kind of sunk in yet? Have you thought about this moment? Did it live up to the way that you thought it would go?
To be honest, it's a bit surreal at the moment. I've always tried to picture myself here, but now I'm actually here. I'm actually a UFC lightweight now. It's I don't even know how to react right now. It's going to take me a few days for it to actually really, settle in.
Are you going to change your social media bios, like, immediately?
I'm going to have to. Quillan Salkilld UFC now. It's going to have to be.
You mentioned after that you weren't super happy with your performance, and I'm just curious, for the people who haven't seen you, what should we expect from you? Because it was a great performance in my eyes. What would you have rather us seen?
I made a lot of mistakes. I tend to be a lot more slick with the things I threw. I did throw a few things that was nice and visually appealing, but in there I was just a bit too tense, and I mistimed a lot of things which could have been a lot better. And I know my next one I want to look a hell of a lot better and be far more impressive.
Do you think that those mistakes maybe happened because of the situation that you were in, the fact that it's, Dana White Contender Series, a lot's on the line, or was it just happened this fight?
Yeah, maybe all of the above. I actually felt not real nervous going in, which is something different. Usually I'm, at the back shitting myself, but this time I was actually very, calm and collected. So, yeah, I think it was just, in the moment, it was just mistakes were made.
And last and most important question, who has the best mustache in the UFC?
Oh, it's got to be me now. Definitely me. Paul Felder, when he had his, was very good. I wish he still had it now, and I hope he brings it back.
Thank you.
Quillan, can you talk about August of 2023? Like you're set to fight on road to UFC. You get pulled the day of the fight. That was a showcase fight to get you possibly in the UFC. You had to wait a whole year. Like, what were how bummed were you, and how upset were you?
Yeah, I was, upset, but I knew my name was out there now. It was always going to be a plus, no matter what. And I knew leaving that within one or two more fights, I'd get my opportunity, ideally on the Contender Series, and predicted it. 2 fights later, I'm now signed on to the Contender Series, and here we are now. I'm up here as a UFC lightweight.
Were you surprised he ate so many of those body shots that you were throwing at him?
Yeah, I landed some really good ones in the last round. I was hoping he'd go down, but he toughed it out and kept on the attack. But yeah, it was a good back and forth slugfest at some stages.
I mean, how awesome is it? Just you and Cody, both UFC fighters, within 4 weeks of each other.
Oh, it's crazy. All that. It would have been better if we could have both gotten on the exact same card and both get it at the same time. But I say he's beat me by 2 weeks, so I'm pissed off, man. I'm pissed off he beat me. Fuck.
And finally, your last name is hard to say, but you always say in interviews, people are gonna know my name and people are gonna remember your last name. Do you think you made a statement tonight?
I think I did. I think I proved that I'm not going to be, I'm no easy fight for anyone. No matter how, well or how bad I performed, I'm always going to be, in your face. I'm going to fight to the very end. And, if you end up surviving in there with me, it's going to be one hell of a fight. We all good? Sweet. Cheers.
Thank you.